Okay, let's dive right in and uncover the truth behind what is honestly one of the most unsettling theories of our digital age. Today, we're exploring a concept that started in the obscure, dark corners of the web, but has slowly and undeniably begun to reflect our daily reality online. And it's a topic that affects every single one of us who scrolls, clicks, or searches.
Picture this for a second. You're scrolling through your favorite social media feed. You see a massive viral image, thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, enthusiastically agreeing with the post. But what if literally none of them are real? What if the image was generated by a machine, posted by a bot, and every single comment was written by another piece of code? Like, are you the only human actually left online? I know it sounds totally like science fiction, right? But today, we're pulling back the curtain on the state of the web to see just how close we actually are to that reality.
Part 1. The Dead Internet Theory, Conspiracy to Reality. So to really understand what's happening here, we need to track how this idea transitioned from a paranoid sci-fi conspiracy into an observable reality.
Let's look at how we actually got here. The seeds for this massive shift were planted back in 2016, when a security firm called Imperva released a report showing that automated programs were responsible for over half of all web traffic. Then, in 2021, the theory officially crystallized, spreading from niche image boards right into the mainstream, with articles popping up in places like The Atlantic. But the real game changer? Late 2022. ChatGPT launches, putting large language models into the hands of, well, everybody. And that brings us right to the crazy tipping point in 2024, where data showed that bot traffic officially hit 51%.
Now, when this whole theory first popped up, it had some pretty wild roots. The original dead internet theory was this concept claiming that organic human activity on the web had been totally displaced by bots, AI, and algorithmically curated content. But it didn't stop there. It was heavily mixed with conspiracy claims, with people actually arguing that US government agencies were using bots to gaslight the entire global population and hide societal collapse. Experts obviously viewed it as a paranoid fantasy, taking a tiny kernel of truth about bot traffic and twisting it into something extreme. But actually, scratch all that wild conspiracy stuff, because this brings us to the leaner truth we're focusing on today. By 2026, academics like Hal Burgle began discussing a leaner dead internet theory. This perspective totally strips away the paranoia, the government conspiracies, the polemics. Instead, it focuses entirely on the observable reality, that algorithmic and AI-generated content is fundamentally displacing human-authored content. This is the phenomenon we're unpacking today, because frankly, you don't need a conspiracy theory to see that the internet is fundamentally changing.
Section 2. Bots, Slop, and Fake Views, the New Web Reality. All right, it's time to examine the core problem with some hard data.
Because in 2024, we crossed a massive milestone. For the very first time in history, bot traffic officially surpassed human traffic, making up 51% of the internet, compared to our 49%. This was monumental. We were literally outnumbered. More than half the internet wasn't human anymore. It was automated. The web had become undeniably synthetic.
So what exactly are all these bots doing? Well, they're churning out and promoting what experts are now literally calling AI slop. This is low-quality, AI-generated content that completely floods algorithmic feeds at the expense of genuine user posts. Probably the most famous, and honestly, slightly absurd example, is the shrimp Jesus phenomenon on Facebook. In 2024, these bizarre AI-generated images of Christ fused with shrimp started going viral. They'd get thousands of likes and comments, mostly from bot accounts dutifully commenting, "Amen." It's kind of hilarious, yes, but it perfectly illustrates a totally broken algorithmic feedback loop, where bots create content for other bots, and human users are just caught in the crossfire.
And look, this synthetic content isn't just isolated to goofy social media posts. It is actively changing how we find real information. By September 2025, the data showed that the share of AI-detected content in the top 20 organic Google search results had climbed to 17.31%. That means almost 1 in 5 of the top results you rely on for information is just spit out by a machine. Search engines are filling up with content engineered purely for AI crawlers, not human readers, which makes it incredibly hard for you to find genuine answers.
Part 3. The economics of illusion, buying fake engagement. So you might be thinking, how on earth is this manufactured on such an industrial scale?
Well, it comes down to the literal menu of the dead internet. Data from social media marketing panels shows us exactly how this works. You can buy 1,000 Instagram followers for somewhere between 10 cents and $1. 1,000 TikTok views, that'll cost you between 5 and 40 cents. YouTube views, just 20 cents to a little over $1. It is rock-bottom cheap to buy a completely fake reality. This isn't some shadowy government operation. It's just a highly efficient, low-cost marketplace where anyone can artificially inflate their digital presence in a matter of seconds.
Part 4. Regulating the web. Push for transparency. Now, society isn't just accepting this synthetic reality without a fight. State legislatures across the U.S. are aggressively stepping in to force some much-needed transparency. For instance, California's SB 243 requires operators of companion chatbots to clearly disclose to users, hey, you're talking to an AI, not a human. Over in Maryland, they passed a law banning dynamic AI surveillance pricing, basically stopping companies from using your personal data to discriminatorily price gouge you. California is also mandating transparency around exactly what data is used to train generative AI, and both New York and California have enacted these sweeping safety frameworks for the massive frontier AI models. They're actively building the legal guardrails for the internet's next era.
And at the federal level, we've got the Take It Down Act, effective May 2026. This one is incredibly important for everyday individual protection. It gives victims the power to combat malicious AI directly. So if someone is targeted by a non-consensual AI deepfake, they just notify the platform. The platform then has a strict 48-hour window to remove it, and they have to proactively take steps to wipe out duplicate versions of that content across their entire global network. It's a hugely powerful tool forcing tech giants to actually clean up the AI slop that harms real people.
Part 5. The Human Pushback. Reclaiming Authenticity. Beyond government regulation, what are everyday individuals and creators doing in a bot-dominated world?
Well, look at the literary world, for example. The Authors Guild stepped right up to fight for the human web by launching the Human Authored Certification in March 2026. This lets authors officially certify that their book was genuinely written by a human being, with AI only allowed for bare minimum stuff like spell check. For just $10 a title, or completely free if you're a member, works are entered into a public, verifiable database. It's a really direct way for creators to distinguish their genuine human creativity from the endless flood of synthetic text.
And honestly, this leads to one of the most unexpected twists in this whole story: a return to the physical world. Check this out. While digital avenues like social media and paid search see a measly 1% response rate, print advertising is commanding a massive 9% response rate. 9. Why? Because you simply cannot AI generate the trust of a physical object. People are getting so skeptical of pixels on a screen, but they still trust something they can physically hold in their hands.
So, what we're really witnessing right now is the great digital divide of our time. On one side, you have the dead internet, which is just bots, AI slop, algorithm feeds, and totally fake metrics. But on the other side, we're seeing an emerging human web taking shape. Real people are actively retreating into trusted, verifiable spaces. They're relying on human-authored certifications, gathering in private, invite-only communities, responding to physical print media, and engaging through direct, opt-in emails. We are quite literally segmenting ourselves away from the noise.
To bring this all together, I want to leave you with a quote from academic Hal Burgel, published in 2026. He points out that while the wild sci-fi conspiracies are absurd, we absolutely must admit that the core principles of the dead internet theory completely align with our current technical reality. He warns that it is a mistake of the first order to just unequivocally dismiss these core criticisms. The structural shift to an AI-dominated internet, it isn't a myth anymore. It is an undeniable reality that we all have to learn to navigate. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, provocative thought to take with you the very next time you open up a social app. In a world where fake views cost literal pennies and AI slop is absolutely populating every corner of your feed, can you truly tell if the next post you see is real? Keep a critical eye out there, everyone, and thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the dead internet.